Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Brennan Decima, owner of Decima Wealth Consulting. Thank you for tuning in. Today, I'm going to unpack a really popular question, and I get it in almost every meeting. How much money do I need to enjoy life in retirement? And great question, important question, but I think it takes away from the more important question of how much income do I need to enjoy life, right? So a lot of us are very focused on the balance. I'm not immune from that. I like seeing my balance grow. But in reality, it's about what it costs to pay the bills. So that led me over the last couple days to Robert Merton. And Robert Merton is a MIT professor who passed away in the early 2000s. He won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 1997 for his work on the Black-Scholes model. So Black-Scholes, for anyone that's not familiar with it, if you're an executive client of mine with company stock incentives and stock options, Black-Scholes is the formula we use to determine should we exercise the options, right? So really, really powerful work that won a Nobel Prize. But Robert Merton published some information in the early 2000s about how he believes, as a society, we are getting retirement wrong by really honing in on what is that balance, how much is the nest egg, and not so much what the guaranteed income is, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. If you think back to the 50s, 60s, 70s, when people retired, almost everyone had a pension, right? People worked for the same company for decades. They were rewarded with a handsome pension. They might have had Social Security to supplement it. And they lived off that income very comfortably and had, long, fulfilling retirements. The regulations for pension accounting changed in the 70s. Companies started having more oversight. They slowly started to unwind some of that pension. And then in the 80s, longevity really exploded. People are living longer. Pension costs became really expensive. So a lot of companies started moving away from that defined benefit pension plan. Now, 401ks really took off because in the 80s, the IRS allowed executives to defer some of their compensation, reduce some of their taxes. They allowed payroll deductions. And now all of a sudden, that was a really cost-efficient way for companies to remove the liability of the pension from their balance sheet. So significantly less companies today offer a pension. They now offer a 401k. So once the 401k came into the fold, now what you see as an investor is you see the balance, and it's very rewarding to see the balance growing. So the question becomes, how big do I need to grow that? And when you are focused on a balance, that can really create a mindset that is tough to break, right? People don't like to see their balance going down. That's counterintuitive to decades of save, grow, build. So when it goes the other way mentally, that is an incredibly big hurdle. So Robert Merton really believes that retirement success, quality of life in retirement boils down to how much income you need. And I'll talk a little bit about his formula and how it relates to what you can do. But essentially, when we think about that nest egg, there's a number of different ways to pull money from that. Number one is the 4% rule, right? And what that assumes is 50% of the money is in stocks, 50% is in cash or bonds. You take out 4% a year, and your money should be much higher when you die than when you retire, right? So, there's some benefits to that. You see your balance growing, right? That's rewarding. But if you've worked really hard to accumulate a large nest egg, if it's getting bigger, that means that you could have spent more along the way. No questions asked, right? So you're leaving a lot of quality life potential on the table. And maybe legacy is a bigger priority than quality of life, maybe not. But the 4% rule essentially allows your assets to grow, which is great for the banks. It's great for the investment companies. It's great for the stock market, right? Because you're not spending as much. So again, think about your priority. Is the goal to enjoy more while you're here or leave more when you're gone? The second way is to live off dividends and interest. Now, this is really popular as well, except for there's a lot of variability with it. So let me give you a really good example. You could have someone that retires with $1 million and say, hey, I'm going to put it all into a treasury earning 4% today, right? So their income is $40,000. And that may be perfectly fine to supplement with Social Security. They're not touching their $1 million nest egg. Well, I remember 5 years ago where interest rates were 1%, right? So that same $1 million is only generating 10 grand. So now there is a $30,000 difference in your quality of life if interest rates change. So for some people, they have enough capital where they're just collecting income. If it's variable, it doesn't alter their quality of life. But for a lot of people, chasing yield and chasing return can be very, very stressful. There was a lot of high quality companies in 2008 that reduced or eliminated their dividend. Rates can change on a dime. There's a lot of pressure to lower rates. So if you were to have dividends cut, if you were to have your interest cut, what does that mean for your ability to enjoy life? And the third way is an annuitization, right? That's essentially creating your own personal pension. Now, the trade-off of that is you're setting aside a sum of money to create a lifetime stream of income. Now, the advantage of that is predictability. The disadvantage of that is the balance is not going to reflect that growth, right? So that's a mental hurdle. Now, in my opinion, there is no right or wrong. And this is where I really like Robert Merton's belief. But there's 4 things that need to be taken into consideration when we think about can we retire and how do we enjoy life in retirement. Number 1 is, what is your bare minimum need to run your life in retirement, right? So what are your essential expenses that no matter what you need to pay? That's the first and foremost thing that you need to think about. Number 2 is, what is that discretionary number, right? So what is the fun, the enjoyment? You could live without it, you don't really want to, but what's that secondary cost that comes every month? The third is, how much are you willing to put aside and save while you're working? And then the third is, what is your time frame? How long can you or want to do that, right? How long do you want to work? Or how long do we need to sustain retirement? So once we know those 4 things, we can then put together a plan to allow the highest quality of life. So in my opinion, and Robert Merton shares this, your essential expenses should not be at the whims of politics, headlines, the market, interest rates. So I strongly believe that the essential expenses should be covered by annuitization. Now, the benefit of that is no matter what, you know that you can pay the bills, regardless of if rates drop, regardless if we have a massive decline in the market. So the benefit of that is annuity rates typically have a substantially smaller capital commitment to generate more income. So it's the maximum amount of cash flow for the least amount of dollars. Plus, it gives you peace of mind. So I'm going to give you a really good example. I worked with 2 brothers. They worked for 2 different companies. They both decided to retire the exact same year. And this was about 10 years ago, but the story sticks out with me vividly. And the reason that it does is one of the brothers, he had approximately $500,000 in savings, and he had the option to take a pension lump sum or to collect income payments for life. Now, the pension lump sum was pretty massive. It was $1.8 million. Or he could collect $11,000 a month for the rest of his life. And that brother decided to take the payments, right? Now, the other brother, he did not have a pension option. He had saved in the 401k. He had done a really, really good job. And his balance at retirement was $4 million. So by pretty much all standards, he had done very, very well working. Now, what I found really, really fascinating, I managed both of these brothers' money, and the brother that had the $500,000 with me and the pension, every time we talked, I was just wildly impressed with how robust his life was. So he was telling me about all of these vacations he took. He would take the kids on vacation. He was talking about how he would go rent Jeeps in Moab and how he was doing ATV riding in Arizona. I mean, it was just a really cool retirement. And he didn't know what his brother was worth, but he thought he was a pretty wealthy guy. And he told me that he constantly invited his brother's family, And his brother always said no, they couldn't afford it. Always turned down the invitation, which again, I'm not sharing clients' stories with other clients. So I always just found this funny because the other brother had $4 million, right? Now, when I talked to the brother with $4 million, he had this scarcity mindset in place. Anytime the market got bumpy, he would cancel his plans. He was regularly signing up for country clubs and then canceling them. He'd book a vacation and then book travel insurance and then cancel it. So when the market went up, his life was really good. He would spend profits. But if there was a bad month in the market or a bad year in the market, he was calling me almost every day during a downturn saying, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be okay? And this one really has stuck with me in the sense that at the end of the day, it's about how do we enjoy life, right? So that balance is fine, but if you can't turn that balance into life quality, the money is not a tool that's being put to good work. It's a tool that's actually hindering your quality of life. It's creating stress, it's creating anxiety, it's not allowing you to do the things that you want to do while you're here with your family. So for some people, that's fine. They can handle volatility. They can, I have a lot of friends that are real estate agents. Every month their pay is different. I have people in financial sales that based off what they sell changes their quality of life. In retirement, it's normal for them to have variability. I have other clients that they lived on a predictable bi-weekly, weekly paycheck for decades. And to then expect them to change where their balance could fluctuate by hundreds of thousands or $1 million in bad market times and expect them to have the confidence to plan vacations and quality of life accordingly is just a really, really big ask. So what steps can you take? So I think step number one, figure out your essential expenses. It's not fun to budget, but take 6 months, do a trial run, add up what it takes for your essential expenses. Then add up all your fun, all your discretionary expenses. And then once we do that, we can then back our way into what would it cost to cover your essential expenses. And then for your discretionary expenses, that's where the 4% rule or living off dividends comes. So the way that I look at this is really 3 buckets. Bucket 1 is your guarantee. That covers your essential expenses no matter what. That allows you the confidence to pay the bills. The market does not matter. Bucket 2 is the essential expenses. Now, if you're using that and living off the 4% rule or living off dividends and interest, with a very high probability, you're going to be able to do all of the fun stuff you want to do, regardless of market fluctuations. That balance should grow. That balance should provide inflation protection. And for those that did a great job saving, the rest of the money is in the growth bucket. That's where we can take that much higher risk and grow the legacy, grow for the back end of retirement. So what does this do? This does 3 things. It gives you more confidence to spend. It gives you more certainty. It gives you longevity protection. And it allows you to watch your balance fluctuate without feeling like you need to cancel a vacation or turn down invitations from family, right? So if this is something that you have challenges with, this is what we do for our clients. Send me a message. Let me know that you need help. You can visit us, www.decimawealth.com. Shoot me an email, Brennan@decimawealth.com. Hopefully this was helpful. I hope you have a wonderful day.